Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, sorry, it took forever.
You got an echo.
Echo?
Yeah.
I'm not using I'm just using a mic on my computer. Should I use a different mic?
Well, I don't know. Whenever I talk, I can hear myself in your. Can you hear? Do you hear an echo at all?
I don't hear an echo.
I can hear. I can hear myself in your speaker.
I could grab a headset. Maybe that'll make it easier.
Okay, try that.
Does that help?
Well, speak again. Talk again. Can you hear me? No, that's even worse.
Sorry, I couldn't hear anything on that.
Yeah, I can.
Is there still an echo? You still hear an echo?
Yeah, I am. Where are your speakers pointing?
They're just built into the laptop. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that.
Try the headphones again.
Can you hear me now? Can't hear me?
I know. How bad is the echo?
Let me try it again. Yeah, I can hear myself clearly as soon as I say that. It just repeats right away.
Okay.
You don't have a headset with the mic on?
Yeah, I have like a big headset with the mic. I could try that.
Yeah, it might help. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You sure you got it in the right jack? Are you sure you have it in the right jack?
Here, can you say something? Or can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Are you sure you have your earphones in the right jack?
Yeah, whenever I put on the headphones, it like goes mute.
Hang on, let me try that now. Okay, the echo's gone. Oh no, it's back. It's just back again. Whatever you did there, it's just back again.
Let's see. Try this. All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine, but you can't hear me.
Whoa, okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you turn your mic volume down at all? Because it's a little bit distorted.
Sure.
Yeah, that's better.
All right, can we hear? Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that.
No problem. So what's up?
Well, you asked to do a Google Hangout, so I'm interested in talking to you. So, willing to go wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, your mic volume's a little bit distorted. I don't know if there's something you can do about that, because you're not going to like the quality once it's recorded. But
Right.
see, it's fine when you're back there. Try that.
Back here?
Yeah, when you're back there, it sounds better. It's not as distorted.
Okay. The mic's built into the headphones.
Oh, it is, eh? Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit distorted, but at least I don't have an echo now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I see you've been posting videos about me.
Yeah.
What's your name, by the way, if you want to share that, or don't you?
My first name's Farid.
Free?
Farid.
How do you spell that?
Farid.
F-A-I-R-D?
R-I-D.
Oh, cool. What nationality is that?
My dad's from Africa. My mom's from Kansas. So
Oh, cool.
American. It's Nigerian, I guess. It's an Arabic name, but I'm not a Muslim or former Muslim or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your issue with me? Why do you keep posting videos about me?
Basically, I was just kind of interested in the arguments you've been putting forward, and I just feel that there are basic issues with the logic that you employ.
Let me correct you on a few things. First of all, that one video you posted where I got kicked off,
Right.
I didn't get kicked off. I walked off.
It's debatable. I guess you got kicked.
It's not debatable. You can see that I said, and I get up, and then the guy says, get off the stage after I get up to leave.
I know.
Well,
Some
then,
people thought that you were about to get kicked off and you were just leaving anyway.
right, but then the title of your video is an error. I didn't get kicked off. I walked off.
Okay.
Because the host himself said, why did he do that? Why did he leave?
Right. And the other guy said, go ahead and leave.
So that's inaccurate. So you might want to change that.
Okay.
And as far as the Alex Botten debate, you think that I had my behind handed to me. I really appreciate that you posted that, actually, because I think anybody who's rational could listen to that debate and think that see that it went a completely different way that you imagine.
Anyone who's rational?
Yeah, with Alex Botten, where he denied, where he said that he didn't use his reasoning to justify his reasoning, and then he said that he did because that's all he had. I mean, he contradicted himself so many times in that, but I'm glad you posted that.
Okay. I mean, I disagree with that, but
yeah, I realize that, but that's fine. Now, there's a couple arguments that you had in your last video, which you took issue with. Now, when I say to somebody, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know? And the person says yes. And I say that they've abandoned knowledge. And you disagree with that.
That wasn't your conclusion.
You disagree with that conclusion. You're saying that somebody can say I can be wrong about everything I claim to know, and yet they can have knowledge.
Right, but your conclusion was they couldn't know anything.
Right, that's my conclusion. Now, I want you to explain to me how a person who says they could be wrong about everything they claim to know can have knowledge.
You said they can claim to know things.
My question is, if somebody says they can be wrong about everything they claim to know,
right?
How can they know anything? How can you know something to be true which might be false?
Your premise is claim to know. So why don't you ask them, can you be wrong about everything you know?
No, because you can. If you can know something, it's impossible to be wrong about it.
Exactly. So why isn't that your premise?
But that's not my question.
Your question is, can you be wrong about everything you claim to know? Your conclusion is they cannot know anything.
Right.
If they can claim to know something. You're switching the words from the premise to the conclusion.
No, they can claim to know things.
Exactly. They can claim to know things.
Okay, well, let's do this again.
Right?
If somebody says they can be wrong about everything they claim to know,
yes.
How can they know anything?
The premise is claim to know. Your conclusion is they can't know anything.
Well, listen, we'll do this again.
Right.
If I say to somebody, can you be wrong about everything you claim to know?
Yes.
Yes. Explain to me how they can know anything then.
How would you not be able to know something?
Well, in order to know something, it must be true, correct? You cannot know, for instance, that Elvis Presley is the current president of the United States because it's false.
You can claim to know something, and it could be true or false.
My question is how can you know something if you say that everything you claim to know could be false?
For example, I claim to know my parents are my actual parents. And I claim to know that. Now, that could actually be false.
Right. Now.
Okay, but I still claim to know it.
Right.
And I call it knowledge.
If you say that everything you claim to know could be false, you could be wrong about everything you claim to know, explain to me how you can know anything then.
Well, real quick, I never claimed that everything I know could be false.
I know, but the thing is, you objected to my debate on Bible Thumping Wingnut show, where I asked the person, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know? And you objected to that, because I say, once you say you could be wrong about everything you claim to know, you've given up knowledge.
Right.
I want you to explain to me how that's an error. When somebody says I could be wrong about everything I claim to know, how can they know anything?
Well, you haven't explained how that's valid.
Listen, when I said to the person, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know?
Correct.
And he says yes. How can he know anything? That's my question.
You could be wrong. Doesn't mean you are wrong.
Exactly. But doesn't mean that you can know it. My question is...
it doesn't mean... You're concluding that he can't know anything.
That's right.
But that's incorrect.
No, it's not.
He could be wrong about everything. Doesn't mean he is wrong about everything.
That's right. I'm not saying he's wrong about everything. I'm saying he can't know it.
He could know it.
Okay, well then, let's go back again.
All right.
When a person says they could be wrong about everything they claim to know,
right,
explain to me how they can know anything.
They could know something, but they could be wrong. You could claim, okay, like I said, my example of my parents. I could claim to know my parents are my parents, and in fact, they could be. So I could know that, but I could be incorrect. So I'm claiming that I could be wrong. It doesn't mean I am, in fact, wrong.
No, it does, but it means you can't know it.
Well, if that is, in fact, true, do I know it?
No.
I don't?
Okay, let me give you this example. Let's say that you're wearing a watch, correct?
Right. Okay.
And you look at your watch at 3 o'clock, and your watch says 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And you say it's 3 o'clock, but you find out, you go home, and your girlfriend says, oh, I broke your watch 2 weeks ago. And actually, it stopped at 3 o'clock. So when you looked at your watch at 3 o'clock, did you know it was 3 o'clock? Or did it just happen to be true?
You're changing the word claim to know to know. I would claim to know it's 3 o'clock.
You claimed to know it was 3 o'clock, and
Correct.
It was 3 o'clock, but you didn't know it.
I didn't know it. Knowledge is a claim.
Knowledge is a justified true belief.
Is it justified?
Something, it must be true.
Wait, you said justified. So if I look at a watch and it says the time, am I justified in thinking that's the time?
Well, the thing is not if your watch is broken.
But am I justified in thinking that's the time?
Well, you can claim it, but you can't know it.
But am I justified in thinking that's the time?
No, you're not.
Why would I not be justified?
Your watch was working properly.
Yeah, you assume your watch is working properly.
But you didn't have evidence of it. But let's get back to my question now.
Wait, you slipped that in. Why don't I have evidence my watch is not working properly?
Well, the thing is, if it was stuck at 3 o'clock for the last 2 weeks, then you don't have evidence that it's working properly.
Well, you're adding that in. That's not what you were arguing. You were saying if I look at a watch, do I have evidence of working properly?
Well, that's just a rabbit trail. Let's get back to the main point.
Well, no, I think I just defeated you on that, right?
Okay, let's get back to the main point. If
okay.
a person says they can be wrong about everything they claim to know.
And that's not my claim, but go ahead.
Exactly. That was his claim on the show. He said he can be wrong about everything he claims to know. Explain to me how he can know something.
You're confusing two things.
Well, just explain. Because you're saying he can still know things.
Yes, but he could be wrong.
Can you know something that might be wrong?
All right, are we defining know as what is true?
It has to be. Justified true belief. That's the definition of know.
Well, you're using it two ways. Is know what is true or what is justified to be true?
It's justified true belief.
Justified.
It must be true.
Justified or true?
It's all three. Justified true belief.
Right.
Okay, now, if a person could be wrong about everything they claim to know, can they know it to be true?
So knowledge, does it have to actually be true?
Can they know it to be true if they could be wrong?
I know, my question is, does knowledge have to be true? When you're saying, can they know it, are you saying, is it in fact true? Or are they justified?
It's a very simple question. Don't answer it.
I'm not dancing around. I'm asking a simple question. When you're saying, do they know it, are you saying that what they are claiming is in fact true?
This might help. Can I know that Elvis Presley is the current president of the United States? Can I know that?
It means what? It depends on what you mean by knowledge. Are you saying knowledge?
Justified true belief.
Justified. So are you justified? So you're saying knowledge is you're justified in making a claim.
Can I know that Elvis Presley is the current president of the United States?
Are you saying no means you are justified in making the claim, or that the claim is in fact true?
Okay, let's agree on the definition of knowledge. Justified true belief. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but you keep changing it after you say that.
Okay, so knowledge is justified true belief, correct?
So it's justified and it's true.
Justified true belief.
So if it's just, so it has to be true.
Yes.
All right, so justified is irrelevant.
No, it's not.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so knowledge is justified true belief.
So
correct?
True belief.
Knowledge is justified true belief. That's the definition of knowledge.
So if you know something and you don't have justification for it, but it's true, it's a knowledge?
If you want to find out what your definition of knowledge is and then come back and do it again, that's fine. But that's a definition of knowledge, justified true belief. If you want to have a different definition of knowledge, fine, research it, and then call me again, and then we'll talk about it.
I understand the definition of knowledge, but words have multiple definitions, and the context you're using, it kind of depends what you mean depending on the context.
Justified true belief. Do you agree with that definition of knowledge?
It seems like a good definition of knowledge.
Okay, now my question is, can I know that Elvis Presley is the current president of the United States, according to that definition?
If you have justification and it's true. Right?
Is it true?
Is it true? That's a different question than is it knowledge?
Is it true that Elvis Presley is the current president of the United States?
Is it true?
Yes.
Do I have knowledge or is it true?
Have a nice day.
Are you're ending it?
Well, the thing is, if you can't answer a simple question like that, then this is pointless.
I can answer the question, but I feel like you're leading me somewhere, and I'm trying to be clear on the terms.
It's a very simple question. Is Elvis Presley the current president of the United States?
No.
Okay. So can I know that he is?
Can you know that he is a president?
Yes.
I don't understand your question.
Elvis Presley is not the president of the United States. We've agreed on that.
Right.
Can I know that he is?
Can you know that he is the president?
Yes.
No. Well, I mean, you could, but you wouldn't.
Could I know that he is the current president of the United States?
If he was, yes, you could if he was.
Both agree that he's not.
Right.
So could I know that he is? Could I know that he is?
Could you know that he is the president if you know he is not the president?
If he isn't, could I know that he is?
No, if you know Elvis Presley is not the president, you cannot know he is the president.
We both agree that he's not the president. It's false that he's the president, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So therefore, can I know that he's the president?
Could you know?
Could I know it?
If you know he's not?
No. If it's false that he's the president, can I know that he is?
If it's false that Elvis Presley is the president, can you know that he is the president?
Right.
Wouldn't be justified or wouldn't be true, so no.
Okay, fine. So it's in order to know something, it must be true.
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay. So if somebody says they could be wrong about everything they claim to know, how can they know anything to be true?
You added the word claim.
Right, that's fine.
Exactly.
If somebody says, look, I can be wrong about everything, that's what they're saying.
That's his
position.
position.
I can be wrong about everything.
Right.
So explain to me how they can know something to be true then, if they could be wrong about it.
Because if they could be wrong, it doesn't mean they are wrong.
Right. Okay, explain to me then, if somebody says, I can be wrong about everything I claim to know, explain to me how they can know anything.
They could still know something.
Fine, floor is yours. How can they know something to be true which might be false?
I never said they could know something to be true that could be false.
That's exactly what you're saying.
How is that what I'm saying?
Because they're saying that everything they know might be false.
Might be, but it doesn't mean it is. So some things could be true and some things could be false. The things that are true, they may know.
Okay,
the things that they don't.
Explain to me how a person can know anything to be true if everything they know might be false.
Because some of the things may be true.
Okay, explain to me. Explain to me one knowledge claim that such a person can have.
That may be true. Any knowledge
It's true.
that is true.
If somebody says, okay, if somebody says, just why don't you assume the position of that person who I was talking to? Assume that position.
Why
You
would
have
I?
just said I could be wrong about everything I claim to know.
I
Correct?
haven't made that claim.
Assume that person.
All right. If I was a person claiming to be saying that I could be wrong about everything
Right.
I claim to know, all right.
Okay, now tell me how you can know anything to be true.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right. One more time.
Okay. Now, because the thing is, you criticized my argument because the guy said I could be wrong about everything I claim to know. So now you're assuming that person. I agree it's not your position. Fine. It's an absurd position.
But I'm not claiming. I'm not claiming his position is valid, by the way.
No, it's absurd. It was absurd. We both realize it's absurd. It's an absurd claim to say I could be wrong about everything I claim to know. But you criticized my critique. Because if you say you could be wrong about everything, it follows that you know nothing.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, well then that's fine. You assume that position and tell me how you can know anything.
If I assume that position,
Right.
okay. If you could be wrong, doesn't mean you are wrong.
Exactly, but it doesn't mean
If you know right, that means you're correct and you know it.
Okay, let's say that I know that the President of the United States, his initials are B.O.
Okay.
And you say to me, what's the name of the President? And I say Barry Owens.
Right.
Did I know that his initials were B.O.? That the initials of the President of the United States was B.O.? Did I know that?
By your definition, yes.
No, because it was false, because I thought it was Barry Owens. It was a lucky guess.
You said you knew his initials were B.O. You didn't say you knew his name was Barry Owens.
Because I thought that the President's name was Barry Owens.
But you didn't claim to know his name, you claimed to know his initials.
No, but the thing is, and you say, well, what's the name of the President? I say Barry Owens. That's why I know that his initials are B.O. Because his name is Barry Owens.
Well, that's a different argument.
Pardon me?
That's a different argument than what you just said.
No, what I'm saying, it's true. It's true that it's B.O., but it doesn't mean that I knew it. Because it wasn't justified.
Well, you said you knew it. I'm just going by what you're telling me.
Okay, if somebody says that they know something, does it necessarily follow that they know it?
Absolutely not.
Because it must be true.
Well, yes.
Okay, so if the person says he can be wrong about everything he claims to know,
right?
How can he know something to be true?
Because he could be wrong.
Right.
Okay, all right, here, let me fix this. If he says he is wrong about everything he claims to know, then he couldn't know anything.
Okay, well, let's do it one more time then. You assume that person who says they can be wrong about everything I claim to know. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you know and how you know it.
So I'm assuming my own position, not this other person's position?
Right. You're assuming the other person's position.
So what do I know?
Yeah, how do you know anything?
How do I know anything, or what do I know?
What do you know and how do you know it?
I know my existence and I know my thoughts. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay, but the problem is you've admitted that you could be wrong about everything, so you could be wrong about your existence and you could be wrong about your thoughts, correct?
Well, actually, let me add on a few more things. Based on your definition of justified true belief, I probably know the world exists. I live on a planet Earth. I'm in the United States. I'm a male. Right. I'm 29 years old. Those are justified claims based on
However, when you say you could be wrong about everything you claim to know, you could be wrong about all of those things too, correct?
I could be. Not all of them. I can't be wrong about my existence. It's impossible.
But the thing is, now you're not assuming that position anymore. This person says he could be wrong about everything he claims to know.
I thought I was assuming my position.
Okay. You're assuming this person's position who, on that show that I was on, said he could be wrong about everything he claims to know. You're assuming his position. Now you're saying that there are things that you know that you can't be wrong about. Now you're not assuming that position anymore.
Oh, no, I said that. Before I said that, I said, okay, well, I'm not using his position anymore. I'm using my own position.
Okay, well, stick with his position because your critique was of my argument against him.
I apologize. I thought we were moving on to my own position, but we can stick with his. Well,
the thing is, your critique was against my argument against him.
I thought when you were asking the question just now, you're asking about my position, so I misunderstood you.
Okay, so this person says he can be wrong about everything he claims to know, correct? Now explain to me,
that's what he said.
Assuming that position, what you know and how you know it.
What does he know?
Yes, and how do you know it? Assuming that position.
I don't know what he knows.
Well, the thing is, assume that position.
I can't jump into his head. I have no idea what he knows.
How can he know anything when he could be wrong about everything?
Because okay, you're saying he could be wrong. You didn't say he is wrong.
Admitted.
Are you saying he is wrong about everything?
No, but he admitted that he could be.
But he's not wrong about everything, right?
He admitted that he could be wrong about everything.
I understand that, but are you saying he is wrong about everything?
No, I'm not.
All right, so the things he's not wrong about, he knows.
Okay, assume that position then.
Okay.
If you could be wrong about everything you claim to know,
right?
Explain to me how you know anything.
Because there's things I'm not wrong about.
How do you know? But you're just contradicting yourself, because you just said you could be wrong about everything when you're assuming that position. You're saying you
could be wrong.
Pardon?
I could be wrong.
Okay, so tell me, assuming that position, what do you know and how do you know it?
What do I know?
And how do you know it?
Okay, assuming that position, I don't know how you could explain how you know it.
Well, the thing is, when I said, if you say you could be wrong about everything, you've given up knowledge. And now you're saying that you don't know how you can know anything, according to that position.
I said, I'm arguing a hypothetical position that is not my position. So you can't critique me personally. I did critique your critique of it.
But you're not doing very well.
I'm doing very well. What you are changing terms, and I'm commenting on it, and then you want to
person. Could you be wrong about everything you claim to know? He said yes.
He could be.
Okay, so now, according to that position, tell me how he can know anything.
You are claiming he knows things.
According to that position where a person says he could be wrong about everything he claims to know, according to that position, explain to me how they can know anything.
Because they're not claiming absolute knowledge. So the things they can claim, they can still claim to know things, right?
They can claim to know things, but that's not my question. My question is, how can they know anything when they could be wrong about everything?
Because they're justified and it's true. If they have justification and it's true, then they know it. If they don't have justification and it's not true, then I guess they don't know it.
How can you be justified if you can't know it to be true?
You couldn't. Wait, who said they couldn't know it to be true?
Not if they could be wrong about everything they claim to know.
No, well, you said they couldn't justify things to be true, right? Why can't they justify things to be true?
Because they have admitted that they could be wrong about everything they claim to know.
Yeah, they can't justify everything, but why can't they justify something?
If they can be wrong about everything.
Why can't they can't justify anything?
That's right, not if they can be wrong about everything.
Why can't they justify anything?
Give me an example of how you can justify one thing if you could be wrong about it.
No, I'm asking you a question. Why can't they justify anything?
Because you could be wrong about it.
They could be right about it, too.
But if you could be wrong about it, you can't justify it, because you can't know it to be true. You can't know something to be true which could be false.
No, you said they can't know everything to be true. They can know some things to be true.
Give me an example of something you know to be true which might be false.
Well, that's a paradox.
It's not a paradox. That's the problem with that position.
That is a paradox. You can't know something to be true that is false.
That might be false.
That might be false?
Yes.
The Earth goes around the sun.
So you can know that to be true.
Yeah.
But it might be false.
I can claim to know it's true.
That's not my question.
Okay, if I know it, by definition it is true, using your terminology.
All right, this is going nowhere. I appreciate your time. You might want to study epistemology a little bit so that you can see the problems you're running into, because the thing is, this is a very simple... The reason you reject that position is because of an absurd position.
What position?
You're wrong about everything you claim to know means you have given up knowledge. Now, I don't want to embarrass you any further, but I would encourage you to look into that. And
Can I ask you a question?
What's that?
Can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Aside from God, what do you claim to know?
What do I claim to know?
Aside from God's existence.
That murder is wrong.
How do you know that?
By his revelation, same way you do.
All right. Do you know the Earth is round?
It's not round.
All right. Do you know the Earth is a spheroid?
Well, I think that I can know things based on my sense and reason that God has allowed me to know, yes.
All right. Let me make it simple. Are you a male?
Pardon me?
Are you a male?
Yes, I am.
Do you know that?
Yes, I do.
All right. Did God reveal that to you?
Through my senses and reasoning, yes.
Did God reveal that to you the same way He
Through my
revealed
senses and reasoning, yes.
Did He reveal it the same way He revealed your existence? Or His existence, I'm sorry.
His existence? No, I think his revelation of his existence is innate.
But so it's not the same as your knowledge of being a male?
No, he reveals many things to us different ways, many different ways. Some through our sense and reasoning, some innately.
Some innately?
Yes.
So when you talk to an atheist and you claim they don't know anything, how are you justifying the knowledge that you're claiming they don't have?
I don't claim that they don't know anything.
No, like, okay, every debate I've seen, you're like, you just made a knowledge claim.
Right. I say that according to their view, they can't know anything. The reason they know things is because they know God exists.
So they can't know things based on their senses and reasoning, but you can't?
Yes. They're made in no, everybody can. But they can't
that's how they know things.
But they can't justify them without God. That's the point.
But they know things.
They suppress the truth in unrighteousness.
So you're admitting atheists know things?
According to my worldview, it's possible that they have knowledge, but not according to theirs. Not according to yours.
Why isn't it possible for me to have knowledge according to my worldview?
Because you don't have justified true belief. You cannot justify your beliefs.
Why can't I? Okay, what is required for justification?
Because your appeal is viciously circular.
What is my appeal?
To your senses and reasoning.
Okay. What's wrong with that? That's how you find knowledge.
Because you have no way to justify their validity apart from God.
All right, so when you claim you're male and you claim you're using your senses and reasoning, correct?
Yes.
All right, and then God, how does that add into that?
I'm saying that God reveals to each of us that we can know things for certain via our senses and reasoning.
Okay.
God who's outside of that plane.
But you used your senses and reasoning to acquire knowledge?
That's correct.
Could you be wrong about it?
Some things I can't be wrong about, no. Some things I can be.
So are there things you claim to know that you could be wrong about?
That I claim to know?
Yes.
I would say yes.
There are things you claim to know that you could be wrong about?
It's possible.
Possible or true?
Well, I'm saying that it's impossible to be wrong about things you actually know. But the difference between the two of us is that I can have a justified true belief, whereas you can't.
Why is yours justified?
Because I appeal to God who knows everything.
But you
end up in an infinite regress.
Yeah, but that's a circular argument. You have to justify God exists before you can appeal to Him.
Okay, the thing is, your justification is your sense and reasoning, correct?
I would have to, yeah.
Okay, can you justify your sense and reasoning without appealing to them?
Appealing to Him?
Yes.
I am my senses and reasoning.
Can you justify their validity without appealing to them?
Without using my senses and reasoning, can I justify them?
Yes.
I could, without my senses and reasoning, I could do nothing.
Okay, so your justification is viciously circular. You admit that then?
Where was the circle?
You use your reasoning to justify your reasoning.
My reasoning is the method of justification. It's not viciously circular. It's virtuously circular.
Okay. Okay, let me ask you this question. You would admit that there's people on this earth whose reasoning is invalid?
Some of the reasoning, maybe all of it.
Well, the thing is, the potential exists for a person to exist on this earth whose reasoning is totally invalid, correct?
Totally invalid.
Yes.
I guess so.
Okay. Now, could such a person know that they were such a person?
I think if your reasoning was totally invalid, you couldn't know anything.
Okay. How do you know you're not one of those people?
Because I know things.
How do you know you're not one of those people, though? How do you know you're not a person whose reasoning is totally invalid?
Evidence.
Yeah, but you're using your reasoning to prove that, though.
I have to.
If your reasoning is totally invalid, how could you know that you're not one of those people?
What's wrong with using my reasoning to justify things? Reasoning by definition is the method of justifying.
You're using your reasoning to justify your reasoning.
Virtuously circular arguments are normally definitional. So, of course, reasoning is a method of justification. That's why it's virtuous. Now, when you say God gives you your reasoning, you're sneaking your conclusion into the premise. You have to justify.
How do you know that you're not one of those people?
One of those people whose reasoning is invalid?
Correct.
All right, so justified evidence.
Okay, but if you're a person whose reasoning is invalid, you couldn't know it. You would need valid reasoning to know that your reasoning was invalid.
My position is when you say make a knowledge claim, you're making a claim. It's a difference between actually having that knowledge. I can claim knowledge, but I can't actually just say I have knowledge. It's just a claim. So there's always going to be a claim.
If you were the person whose reasoning was invalid,
right?
Could you know it?
If you had no way to reason, you couldn't know anything. So no.
Well, then how can you know you're not one of those people?
Evidence. Do you think I'm one of those people?
No, I don't.
All right, so when people bring up a straw man, like they say God is like a magic spaghetti monster or a flying fairy, you say none of the two people hold that belief, right? So you're not going to argue about something no one believes, right? So why should you argue about me being one of these people who has no reasoning when you actually do not?
Because I'm getting at the basis of your justification for reasoning. Your justification for the validity of your reasoning is your reasoning. And I'm exposing the fact that if your reasoning was invalid, you could never know it.
So I'm justifying reasoning by reasoning?
Hang on one second. Hey, brother. I'm on a Skype call with an atheist right now who's trying to justify his reasoning with his reasoning, but I'll call you back in a minute, all right? All right, sorry about that.
That wasn't Eric, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Another friend of mine. See, the thing is, the difficulty with this is, and you know, I don't want to be condescending, but the problem that you're having with these arguments is because your reasoning has not been redeemed. Because the thing is, you cannot examine these arguments and come to proper conclusions. What you need to do is repent for your sin against the God that you know exists.
What is my sin against the God that I know? Wait, how do you know I know God exists?
Because Scripture tells us.
But how do you know?
Because Scripture tells us.
Is that
Romans 1 says that everybody knows that God exists. And the thing is, when you have a discussion like this with me,
right?
And you might watch it back, and you might think that you've done a great job. I get that. I mean, you thought that Alex Botten did a great job. I get that. But the thing is, I hope that in those quiet moments, you know, when you're by yourself and you realize that you know that God exists, that you ask Him to grant you repentance, that you could see the absurdity of your claims you're making today. Now, your friends might watch this and say, oh, he did a really good job. But really what you're saying is pathetic.
So if the Bible says I know God exists, then I don't, did I falsify the Bible?
No, you do know that God exists, and you expose it with every knowledge claim you make.
I don't know God exists. So, no.
You expose it with every knowledge claim you make.
How do I do that?
Because your justification is viciously circular.
It's not viciously circular. Your argument is viciously circular. You have not proved God exists. So if God doesn't exist, can He reveal to you?
Listen, if you use your reasoning to justify your reasoning, is that a vicious circle?
I don't think it's vicious.
Thanks for your time.
Well, I was asking...
It was good talking with you.
Can I ask you a question?
Nice meeting you.
So I can ask you the question?
If you don't see the problem with using your reasoning to justify your reasoning, and you say that that's not a vicious circle, there's no point in continuing.
I don't think that's what I'm doing, but I was going to ask you a question because you're claiming I have a vicious circle, and perhaps I do. Now, we're going to see if you have a vicious circle.
No, the problem is once you have conceded that your argument, you say that using your reasoning to justify your reasoning is not viciously circular, there's no point in continuing. Because I'm not going to grant you that as a foundation to engage my argument.
Well, I think it's true that we could both be wrong, but we can't both be right. Would you agree with that?
I'm saying that it's senseless to continue if you cannot justify your reasoning. Because you're trying to reason with me now, and you're borrowing from my worldview.
So if someone can't justify the reasoning, it's senseless to argue with them.
Well, I'm saying that your justification is viciously circular and you can't see that.
But I'm asking, if someone cannot justify their reasoning, it's pointless to argue with them, right?
Well, if somebody goes on YouTube and declares their atheism and tries to argue against my position, and then I engage them on Google Plus, and they say that I reason that my reasoning is valid and that's not viciously circular, then there's no more point in continuing. If you're my friend, if you're my friend and we were sitting down at a coffee shop, I'd be happy to engage you on this, because my friend would not be posting these ridiculous videos on YouTube with these ridiculous claims. Now, the thing is, if you want to get together at a coffee shop sometime, I'll talk to you about that. But when you go on YouTube and you promote your atheism and you come up with these nonsensical arguments and I expose them as nonsensical, then I will not continue.
Well, my point was that you haven't justified your reasoning. So you're criticizing me for something you haven't.
How do you know that I haven't justified my reasoning when you can't justify yours?
How do I know? Because your argument is viciously circular. You have not.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Is it impossible for God to exist?
It depends.
Okay.
What God? The Christian God? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Honestly, and I think you might agree with this, there are people who claim to be Christians who define God in different ways. So I would have to look at each individual instance.
To run around. I appreciate your time. I mean, if you can't answer simple questions, then I mean, sometime maybe write out a list of questions if you want to do this again, and where you would actually answer the question. Very simple question.
The question is, does God exist, or is it possible?
Is it impossible for the Christian God to exist?
As far as I know, no.
Okay, so you have conceded an avenue to certainty to me.
No, I haven't.
Yes, because the Christian God reveals things to us such that we can know them for certain. That's what the Christian God does.
You have an avenue of certainty if God exists.
Right, and you've conceded that possibility.
Possibility?
You've conceded that possibility to me.
Because I don't know what God is, so of course it's possible.
The thing is, you've conceded the possibility. So according to my worldview, I can have certainty. According to your worldview, you have a vicious circle.
I can have certainty.
Explain to me how you can have certainty when you reason that your reasoning is valid.
I can have certainty if I claim to know something and it's true.
Okay. How can you know it if you can't know that your reasoning is valid?
How could I know it if I... Okay, just because there's a possibility that my reasoning is invalid does not mean it's invalid. Therefore, if I know something and it's true, then it's true. I may be...
How do you know it if your reasoning might be invalid?
How do I know something if my reasoning might be invalid?
How do you know it if your reasoning might be invalid?
All right, so my position, what I claim, and I've mentioned this before, my existence and my thoughts.
Okay, but your reasoning could be invalid about that, correct?
My reasoning?
About that could be invalid, correct?
My reasoning about... Yeah, it could be.
Okay, so then how can you know it?
I may have come to the correct conclusion for bad reasons, so I still know it.
Wrong.
I couldn't be wrong about my existence.
You couldn't be.
No.
How do you know that your reasoning about that is not invalid?
My reasoning may be invalid, but nonetheless, I still know I exist.
Have a nice day. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Nice talking to you.